Ah, there we go. What? Why aren't you? All right. I'm gonna go dark a second. Boop. Wrong button. Aha. All right. So time to continue onwards. We're still in the midst of. Now I normally take games pretty slow, so. Yeah, I normally will actually take games pretty slow. So as for so as for everything that I will end up doing, I don't know how long, but because of that, I don't necessarily know how long it's going to take me to finish these games. So I don't know why M is supposed to be map, but I mean, it does widen this, but it doesn't do exactly everything I want. Anyways, how much money do I got? Okay, I got a lot of bronze rings. What is this? Armor against fire, armor against piercing, crushing, slashing. Okay. What are we? Okay, so what's everything we need to do? Do both of these need to be at the? No, we need to go to the death knell next up. Yeah, we need to go to the death knell. Also, I probably want to.
You look as if you have something on your mind. By all means. What can I do for you?
I'd like to know more about you. I am the line your enemies cannot cross. All other details are meaningless, but I suspect you have some thirst for details, so ask away. You're the line that my enemies can't cross. I mean, when they don't go around you, yeah. Did you seek the trade of war, or did it find you? Both. I suppose I knew fighting was in my blood, and the disfavored offered me a chance to use my skills to bring peace. Otherwise, I'd have wound up some brigand or an enforcer to a crooked merchant. You think Ash and his Legion bring peace? That's cute. But it doesn't hold water from where I'm standing, big guy. I've seen them spill as much blood as any chorus gang. You've clearly been too busy sacking villages and stealing crops to notice how a proper army conducts a war. We sow order, not discord. I'm gonna say nothing. Enough of this. You're making us look foolish before the Fate Binder. May I continue my story, or do you plan on interrupting again? Beric waits until Verse makes a rude, dismissive wave before continuing. The disfavored needed recruits, and in anticipation of the march, they offered to care for my mother and brother as long as I stayed with the Legion, which is a better guarantee that you'll find anywhere else. Oh. Going to help his family, okay. I was an elite fighter as far as most were concerned, though still greened by disfavored standards. Luckily for everyone, my skills improved under the Iron Marshal's rigorous training. Tell me about your name. Beric is a shortening of my northern surname, which has been passed down through the generations since Graven Ash assembled his army. I go by it because I wear it with pride. The proper form is Bericonin. Beyond its age and association with the General's Legion, the name of Bericonin has no great titles or associations. I hold no claim to a great house or legacy, save for the disfavored. They are all the kin I need. Oh, excuse me. What's the story with your armor?
It is a symbol of Kairos' will, one that I am not likely to forget. I found this armor. Perhaps it would be better to say that it found me during the Edict of Storms.
I proclaimed the edict. Where were you when it struck? I was in the field, even though I knew that the people of Stalwart would receive no warning. Duty compelled me to march on the stronghold in the heart of the realm. There was important work left unfinished. Our march was a hasty one. A cohort of disfavored soldiers vanished at the second year of the war. Among them, the daughter of Graven Ash. Oh, after a long silence, we learned that she was held in the fortress of Sentinel's Stand. As we surrounded the citadel, I heard the opening of pearls of thunder, as did the scout I was busy trying to kill. Then the winds hit like an avalanche. Many of us begged Kairos for deliverance. What else? Deliverance. What else were we to do? Well, the winds knocked the legs of our offensive out from under us. All the decorated soldiers I brought to the battle were swept up and dashed to pieces, their armor and bodies mixing with the dirt of a tornado that spun in maddening revolution. Damn. Damn thing chooses this moment to go dry, and with so few survivors to recount the edict. Bleh. What? Lantry shakes his quill and presses it harder against a scrap of parchment, imploring it to write. Oh. He's talking about his quill. He wants to write this story down. Anyways, a piece of the citadel wall broke off and nearly crushed my skull. I only remember a few scattered moments from the storm, like the flying bits of bronze and iron cutting my flesh, the severed limbs of fallen soldiers tumbling through the air. Eventually, I woke up thinking myself trapped under rubble. Then I rose and felt like I was buckling under my own weight. That's when I realized it was stuck, right and truly stuck inside this heap of scrap. Damn. Looks like pretty solid protection. That would be an understatement. If only it protected me from foolish questions. Eric regards you in such a way that you can tell he's rolling his eyes. Okay, I guess he didn't like that. Do you handle your own repairs? I try to keep the surface oil to slow the spreading rust, and I bend the plates from time to time, but repairs, maintenance, no. If you have any ideas of how to better maintain this situation, I'm open to discussion. Now back to my questions about you. As with all disfavored, I assume you grew up in the Northern Empire. That's right. I grew up in Battle's Rest. They then trained at Fort Resolution before they marched me out to support the second cohort. I hope to spend my rusting years in threatened shores, unless, of course, I die in glorious battle, which would be preferable. My mother is good with the soil, my father with rings. He spends much of his time away on one merchant's errand or another. Still, I'm lucky to say they're both alive. Tell them about the disfavored. We are the Iron Legion, the warrior leader of Kairos fighting forces. I could easily lose count of the hours controlling our glories. I'd like to know, have you fought in any notable battles? I served in Stalwart for the better part of a year, faced the enemy everywhere from Coral Ruin to Sentinel's Stand. I lost count of the battles. Seems like we fought every other day. Some of our best victories took place there, fighting an enemy worthy of our iron. We were not successful enough to please the Overlord, and the final intervention was harsh on us all. Barrick takes a deep breath. I had an unusual view of the Edict of Storms. Obviously, Kyros's judgment left its mark on me. Yep. How about the Graven Ashes? Is the general the disfavored better? Excuse me, sorry. That calls for a beer. Oh. Oh. Been doing a lot of push-ups, so my shoulders are really hurt. They're really hurting. Ow. 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 Anyways. Cheers. How did he come? How did he come to serve? Before the uniting of the Northern Empire, Graven Ash served as a warlord in the service of one of the local kings that defied Kairos' rule. Incredible as it may seem, Ash stood against Kairos' rule. Oh. Though his army was dismantled by Kairos' overwhelming numbers, Ash's forces formed admirably. It was said that he and his troops claimed 77 lives for each of their own. Hey. Kairos took an interest in the military genius that bloodied his army. Graven Ash was summoned to a conclave of Archons, and though he was sent to chains, he left as an Archon, having been granted a position of power in Kairos' great host of war. Thus, the disfavored were born. All of us today trace our line back to those warriors that impressed Kairos with their will and tenacity. The only difference is now we fight on the winning side. Though the general seldom speaks of it, I know that Ash humbled himself in order to spare his troops the brunt of Kairos' punishment. His loyalty to the old blood of the North is beyond question. He made the right choice. And he would make it again to save any of us. There has never been a more devoted and attentive leader. Beric makes a proud fist and attempts to salute with a forceful clatter of pots and pans. What else do you know of his past? So that's actually, I'm okay. That's neat. I follow him into battle. I am not his personal scribe, and if I did know more of him, it would not be my place to say. As an Archon, what magic does he wield? Ash works his magic through us, his soldiers. When we do battle, Ash seems to know the events even before our runners have given word. Most importantly, though, he protects us. It's a bit trickier to explain unless you've experienced it. I can think of countless times I've been struck by a spear or hit with an axe and even run through with an arrow, and in each of those moments, the pain and injury just ceased to be. Oh, none of us know how he does it or how he can sense that we're in danger and intervene from afar, but I suppose that's why he's an Archon. What he does probably wouldn't make sense to someone like me. How do you feel about him? How do I feel about him? Archon Ash is the bravest, warmest, most compassionate general who ever lived. A living icon of leadership and courage. Beric tilts his head slightly to the side, as far as the suit's limited range of motion permits. Ash is a soldier, but he doesn't kill for sport. A leader. He doesn't issue commands to hear himself talk. He demands discipline and sober conduct of his troops, and I applaud such standards. What can you tell me about your time in the Legion? Well, we kind of already... I joined the Legion 3 years before the conquest of the Tears began, although handy with... Wait, didn't he just... Wait. Didn't he say that he joined right before or during the conquest? Anyways, I joined the Legion 3 years before the conquest of the Tears began. Though handy with a few weapons, my size made me the perfect addition to a phalanx. I've served with the stone shields ever since. Proud to say I've stood front and row, right corner in over a dozen battles. That has been my place ever since the Iron Marshal gave me the assignment. Bastard City, the Gates of Judgment, Vendria Pass, Oaken's Ring, a quick tour into Barrison Chains, and then Stalwart. I spent a long time in Stalwart. Lost a lot of friends there. What can you tell me about the disfavored lieutenants? They are Graven Ash's most trusted officers and warriors from the Iron Guard. I know this is exactly what you guys wanted, right? Right at the beginning of the stream, let's do a bunch of dialogue. Yeah, I know this is slightly boring. Not exactly what you guys were hoping for, but this is part of the game. I personally like getting to know my comrades, even even if we're tyrants, we're gonna be evil. Anyways, they are Graven Ash's most trusted officers and warriors of the Iron Guard. Between Ash's arcane powers of command and cadre of gifted leaders, cadre. How the hell do you pronounce that?
Cadre.
Cadre. And now, what does it mean? Small group. Okay, kind of figure that. Anyways, cadre. Command is cadre of gifted leaders. There is little confusion or chaos in the ranks. Tell of the one they call Iron Marshal. She takes it upon herself to train and harden our greener recruits. Not only that, she has a keen eye for talent and how to foster it for leadership. She is the youngest member of the Iron Guard. Her family line served the disfavored back before Ash bowed to Kairos. Say what you will of how many seasons she's weathered, her lineage is impressive beyond measure. What of Karen's disciple, Radix? An Earthshaker who swore service to Karen a few years before the conquest. Since Karen is gone, the cult now follows Radix. Unlike his Archon, at least he knows how to follow orders. To his credit, Radix seems to appreciate the honor of fighting alongside the disfavored. Karen was always peeved to be invited in the glory. The mages seem a necessary complication. They are insubordinate and can't lug their own supplies, but I would not want to go to war without their spells of tremor and leaping stones. Merrick. Merrick is the devout leader, and Ash seems to hold his counsel in high regard. Both set their troops ahead of themselves, which I'm sure is why they work so well together. He's no magician, but he does share a special connection to his war band, and they are entrusted with the most important scouting assignments. They say he can see what his scouts see, hear what they hear. I would love to have that ability. What about the Veramis? He is the finest of us, second only to Ash. Veramis is an evocatus. A soldier who lived to see the end of his term of service. It's rare for anyone to survive that long, much less willingly return. These days, he lends his tactical expertise to Graven Ash, though by all rights, he should be enjoying his twilight years in a seat of honor and dignity. Huh. Well, now we know now we know a good chunk about Legion. Turns out Ash is actually a decent guy. A little rough around the edges, but a decent guy. But we'll see how things go in the later run. I still need to learn a little bit more about though yeah, I really don't know. We really don't know much about the voices. We don't know much about him or her. Anyways. Why didn't the Legion prevent the uprising of Vengeance well? I think that's a question you ought to ask the Scarlet Chorus. They too were charged with ensuring the locals remained vanquished and unarmed. I would say the Vengeance Guard are really the only guilty party. It was their rebellion after all. Oops. Oh, we're now at tier 1 with fear with Barrack. Ugh. Anyways, that is a supposition unworthy of you, Fate Binder. The tears are but children before Kairos. We don't blame them for their ignorance, but the responsibility to set them straight is ours alone. What more can you tell me of the Legion? This favored accept only the finest wares. We are all volunteers and soldiers by trade, not farmers and fishmongers pressed into service. There's a century of tradition, honor, and tactical mastery in our ranks. We don't let just anyone into the Legion. Only Northmen of character and prowess are welcome. What if a capable tiersman wished to join? We would not recruit even a champion of the tiersmen. Each soldier in the Legion is tied by blood and fealty to those that stood with the graven ash during the coming of Kairos. That is part of who we are, and that will never change. I don't particularly like that plan. It seems a little musk. I think it needs to change. Anyways, so why is the Legion called the Disfavored? It is a name born in shame and now worn in honor. After Graven Ash stood against Kairos, he was forced to give up much: his allegiance, his pride, and the name of his vaunted army. What was the Legion originally called? The name has been forgotten by all save Ash and Kairos, and is considered a bad form to bring up the topic. Since you didn't know any better, I'll say this much: Disfavored is the only name by which one needs to know. Have some questions about the Scarlet Course. Oh, this ought to be good. Our allies do not share the disfavored sense of honor and discipline. The chorus will trust any criminal, rapist, or halfwit with a truncheon or blade. That one we kind of figured. Anyways. What do you know of the voices of Nearad? The Archon of Secrets? All I know are rumors, heresy, speculation, but that's as much as anyone knows of the voices. Some accounts tell that he's actually dead, and the Overlord has trapped the minds of his foes in the same body to torture them all. As likely an explanation as any I've heard. Food? And intriguing, all intriguing at the same time. Huh. In truth, I know little of the voices and have reason to suspect almost anything about him could be true. You could tell me his tears turn cheese back into milk, and it would seem more sensible to believe you than not. You could tell me his tears turn to cheese back into. You could tell me his tears turn cheese back into milk. The wording in that in my head was all weird and wonky. For a second there, I thought he said he could. My mind was picturing and understanding. And okay, cries tears of cheese that turn to milk. That's what I originally thought. Oh. Well. Anyways, you could tell me his tears turn cheese back into milk, and it would seem more sensible to believe you than not. You know anything of his powers? No. I mean, do you think him disloyal? I really shouldn't comment on such matters. Do you know anything of his powers? I am no scholar of sorcery, but as I understand it, the voices of Nira is a thief of minds. They say he can swipe your thoughts and make them his own. I don't know how it works. When I recruited into the Disfavored, the Iron Marshal told me never to take an audience with a voice if I didn't have a witness on hand. I heard his tears can turn cheese into milk. That's very amusing. He just told us he could say. Anyways, whatever. What do you know of his association, the Archon Siren? Siren is the Archon of Song and one of the youngest of her rank. She can influence human emotion with her voice alone. The voices may be the conductor of the chorus, but I'd argue Siren is their best weapon. The voice the voices put her talent to good use. He had her sing a song up and down the coast, and the tearsmen defected to the chorus in droves. What can you tell me about their troops and tactics? These are the first I've heard of them. The chorus is more of an irregular mob than a proper army. Still, it's a well-armed mob, and they even have a few proper warriors and magicians in their pitiful excuse for ranks. What do you know? There were warriors. Most chorus rats are untrained peasants handed a knife or a pitchfork. It doesn't take much to qualify you for the front lines. One only needs a beating heart, and even the chorus could make do. Huh. Of course, not everyone in the chorus is an infirm child or sickly old crone. Some ex-soldiers and a madman join, and the fighting elite of the chorus form a clique known as the Scarlet Furies. Beric is too dismissive by far, but he's right that most recruits are novices pressed into service. Most will not survive the first few battles. Those who live will have experience to lead, and those who fall can easily be replaced. You know, I'm thinking of the Scarlet. Whenever I try and think of the Scarlet Chorus group, I'm always sort of slightly reminded of a book I recently finished like a couple months back. In all honesty, I don't really know why. There's very few common places in that, but anyways, oh god, what was the book? Well, it's a trilogy, really. But anyways, it's essentially about this people who end up getting sent onto this ship as essentially sacrifices for it, and they got to survive. And it's and everybody on the ship are essentially mishmash group with special abilities. Anyways, let me try and find that book real quick. The first book is Ship of Smoke and Steel. It's one of the Wells of Sorcery trilogy. Decent books, actually, and weren't bad. I enjoyed them. I enjoyed all three. Now, what sort of magic does the chorus use? The Blood Chanters are the mages who did I finish? No, that's fine. Are the mages who follow the voices of Nirad. Like the chorus itself, their order is not steeped in tradition and antiquity, rather built on knowledge stolen from other guilds. Their fire magic earns them a place in the battlefield, but they also have chants that stir the mind and the heart. The motherless sods have spells that can bolster a man's courage or trap it into his fears. The chorus is a mob. How is it led and supplied? The voices of Nira gives orders to his elite commanders, who in turn send instructions out to the gang captains, but beneath that hierarchy, it is chaos. The whole gangs will break from the larger force and disperse back into their homelands. The chorus is inefficient beyond words, and yet more bodies keep coming in to replace those lost in the mess. Inefficient? Every weakling lost in the shuffle is one less burden to those in the choir still dancing to the song of battle. Our ways must be harsh, otherwise the stupid and the soft will inherit the chant. The chorus has a lot of mouths to feed, so the conscripts that can't or won't fight are made to gather food and water. Else, I'm told, they're fed to the pigs, becoming food and water, in a sense. A fine contrast to the honor, efficiency, and the decency of this favored, the Legion demands courage and tenacity, but provides us with good iron and does not leave its soldiers to forage like vultures. How do you think the Scarlet Course convinced so many Tearsmen to join? To begin with, Siren, obviously. We just got done talking with her. She had a song that got a whole village is marching to her will, and once the peasants killed their neighbors or cousins in service for the voice, it either hardened them into warriors or broke their mind for servitude. Lots of criminals and drifters joined the chorus too. Seems like the scum of the tears just need the promise of glory and sanctioned debauchery to turn on their neighbors. Not pretty, and it shouldn't be. Of course, is a forge. All the dirt of the tears goes in, and the finest bits are refined into weapons. There are many that join the Scarlet Chorus because they wish to join the winning side. It's a shame that such patriots were not born to proper northern stock, too weak or too slight to be disfavored. Scarlet Chorus is their best freedom from fealty to the younger realms. Not everyone has the fortune of joining Conan's favor.